Hello, this is the second part of the Pomorze Army and Pomorze Front part of the series on the invasion of Poland in World War II. So this is going to be part 2B of the series. So in part 2A, as I'll call it, we talked about Danzig, the most northern part of the entire Pomorze Army area front. So in the far north of the Polish corridor, the free city of Danzig was occupied by the German army and then annexed after Albert Forster and Adolf Hitler both signed equivalent papers that decreed the annexation of the Danzig Free State into Germany. So for today, I'm going to discuss the main portion of the fighting in Pomerania. So the area between mostly the 4th Army and the Pomorze Army. So I'll begin by talking about the areas in the western side of the Polish corridor, and that's going to be defended by the 9th Infantry Division, the 15th Infantry Division, and further north, Drapila's 27th Infantry Division. And these were attacked by basically the entire German 4th Army. So a lot of strength put on to only 3 Polish infantry divisions, pretty much. In addition to a few border guard units. So they were greatly outnumbered, suffered great disadvantages in number and in strength, because the Polish HQ, in short, didn't put the best equipment, the best material into this northwest part of the war. So I'll begin by talking chronologically, starting with the first day of the war, so September 1st. So in the morning of September 1st, the first attack from the Germans came from the 32nd Infantry Division, so Boma, and that division attacked the 9th Infantry Division. And actually the 9th Infantry Division, I think, was pretty well prepared for the initial attack. Not so much the later days, of course, because they would be badly damaged. But in the first hours of the war, the 9th Infantry Division was pretty well prepared compared to others. If you remember in the Battle of Pomorze, one of the Polish regiments actually knew that a German attack was coming before they were attacked. And this was similarly true for the 9th Infantry Division. So Verovich, who was the divisional commander of the 9th Infantry Division, was able to inform many but not all of his subordinates of the impending attack, that Germany is making movements along the front line, and that he would expect an actual invasion to come on September 1st. And he knew this from basically midnight of the night of August 31st and September 1st, which certainly helped. And the 32nd Infantry Division said they were kind of like the first to really pass by. And the 32nd passed by some Polish patrols that were actually inside German territory, which is kind of illegal, but the Germans never realized it. The Poles set up these little watch buildings, a tiny bit inside the German side of the border, and they were able to use that to detect German movements. They were able to tell that the 32nd Infantry Division was moving basically entire force, 18,000 men, just to the front line, and many forces, including the 9th Infantry Division, became aware of that, and it was reported to Verbich, and that's how Verbich was able to get his division into combat position to effectively fight. And some minor clashes happened between Abwehr saboteurs and some elements of the 9th Infantry Division. I believe it was the 22nd Infantry Regiment, I believe, that was fighting it. And this occurred between around 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. in Polish time, Polish and German time. But they didn't reciprocate until about an hour after. And this, not because of Verbich, but because of even higher command. And I'm not talking Bortnovsky, I'm talking about Ryszmigwy, because the first attack, the first order to counterattack needs to come from someone high above, like Ryszmigwy. So it didn't come until a little before the Germans attacked. There was a little fighting, but of course, as we know, the actual German invasion, of course, all the front lines happened at 4:45 a.m. And the attack against 9th Infantry Division also came at 4:45 a.m. That's when the Germans crossed the border initially. So the 32nd Infantry Division, two of its regiments, the 94th, 96th, and the 4th Infantry Regiment, they crossed the border into what is known as the Tuchola Forest, so north of Bydgoszcz and Torun, and near the Chersk operational group, but much further south. They were kind of coming from the southern end of what the 9th Infantry Division covered. And the 50th Infantry Regiment in 3rd Infantry Division also crossed the frontier basically at the same time that 32nd Infantry Division did. And noticing the attack, 34th Infantry Regiment dug in, and the 35th Infantry Regiment, which is also a part of 9th Infantry Division, also got prepared for a potential attack. So Polish border guards withdrew initially, and they made sure to not leave anything in their path so that the Germans wouldn't be able to take anything, and they were able to reach solid defensive positions and not, border guard positions, which would make their job a lot harder and could lose them a lot of men. They were able to actually get to the defensive positions, like many of the men in the Modlin army did. And at the same time, the Polish 22nd Infantry Regiment, so the other part of the 9th Infantry Division, they moved to block the road at Koronovo, the road going into it, and so that the Germans wouldn't be able to get there. And this was important because there were armored units coming in there as well, not just infantry, and armor would need roads, and it would make it hard. But also, there were Luftwaffe attacks coming into this area, and these Stuka dive bombers bombed Chu, a town a little south of the Danzig Free State, or of the Danzig metropolitan, and they also were able to bomb other parts of the area in the Pomeranian Front near Pomorze and Żegnowo, but not on the Pomeranian Front. They had bad weather in the area, so unfortunately for the Luftwaffe, they were unable to get activities on against the Polish Pomorze Army on September 1st, or even on September 2nd, as we'll see. And that was important. And at the same time, a few armor car elements of the 20th Motorized Division attempted to breach into Hoynitz, a town near Chersk, but they found that the bridge was already destroyed by the Polish army, specifically the 9th Infantry Division. And they tried to capture the town with an armored train as well, called Panzerzug 3, and Panzerzug 3 was one of 4 armored train attacks used by Germany in the entire invasion of Poland. And it was a ferocious looking machine because it was moving, it was armored, it was big, and it felt unbreakable. But of course, they're not actually very mobile, because as soon as you take away the rails and you're able to capture the rails and destroy it, the train is unable to move, and you can get rid of it. And this armored train was dismantled by tiny elements of Polish army units pretty quickly. So the 20th Motorized Division and the 2nd Motorized Division, along with the 3rd Panzer Division, were part of Heinz Guderian's 19th Armored Corps. And the 2nd Motorized Division advanced to Tuchola, and they encountered the Polish 35th Infantry Regiment there. And it's a pretty well fortified area, Tuchola, and it's inside a forest, which makes it great for the Polish army. They're more or less immune to artillery attacks, because artillery aren't very good at messing with forest enemies. So the 2nd Motorized Division was okay. So it was a strong unit for sure. It's not infantry only. It's also got a lot of motorized units. So although it's infantry, it has 16,000 men or so. It also got some armored cars and a little bit of Panzer Is as well. So they're mobile. But the problem was, Bader, who was the commander of the division, wasn't able to use the division to the best of its ability. So the 3 regiments of the Motorized Division attacked a position in the late morning, I'd say, a little before noon, and they were repelled by the 34th Infantry Regiment. They suffered great casualties, and they were unable to get the Polish 34th to surrender. And a big part of this reason comes from the tactics that Bader used. He's a divisional commander, but he should be able to dictate what happens on a regimental level, a battalion level, and a and at company level. And the problem was that he didn't. He thought it was the Great War. He used Great War tactics of just attacking on the same area, in the same direction, in multiple directions, but on one enemy, and with all of your forces, just attacking. That's not the way to go, and in my opinion, which agrees with Heinz Guderian's opinion about how to use mobile units. It's a mobile unit, and you should use it as one. You have fast units that could go around the encircled Polish units, and the thing is, once they're encircled, one, their morale plummets, and two, you trap it can't move, it can't retreat, so even though it's in bunkers, all you have to do is shell it with artillery guns, and maybe planes if you later have the ability to, and the unit's gone. You don't even have to fight it gun versus gun. You can just easily eliminate that unit. And Bader was unable to use it, and therefore he lost a number of casualties during this first attack on the first day. However, there's some better forces that were able to be used in this area. So one of them is Panzer Division 3, the 3rd Panzer Division, Panzer Division 3 in German, and that's commanded by von Schweppenberg, and Schweppenberg was also kind of like an old general who wasn't fond with the tactics of the day, and he advanced east like all else, and he also made a big mistake, I think. Normally, a strong first attack comes with reconnaissance, and then with armor, and then infantry follows. He didn't use that order, and he attacked first with armor rather than with reconnaissance, and that became a problem. The 3rd Panzer Division's spearhead unit was the 6th Panzer Regiment, 5th Panzer kind of falling behind. And it made some strong initial gains in the morning, but it was repelled anyway by 22nd Infantry Regiment, which was attacked by it. So 9th Infantry Division was making good defenses in the first day. The anti-tank ditches and the fortifications were able to work well for 22nd Regiment. And if you look at a map, it was really just a line of bunkers that was pretty hard for the Germans to breach on day one. In fact, they didn't, neither against 35th Infantry Regiment or against against 22nd Infantry Regiment. Of course, 34th was in behind. And yet, despite the great and successful efforts by 22nd Infantry Regiment, it was overcome by not by force, but by numbers. And what that means is that 3rd Panzer Division was unable to really breach it. 6th Panzer Regiment wasn't able to get past the anti-tank defenses. However, coming from the south, 32nd Infantry Division was coming. And that became a problem because they might become encircled. And being kind of on an edge, the southern flank of the left flank of 9th Infantry Division, they don't want to get isolated and destroyed, so they were forced to kind of retreat, and they had to go south or east to the rest of the 9th Infantry Division, where they would meet the 35th and 34th Regiments. 9th Artillery Regiment as well. So that became a small problem for the Poles, and when it became the afternoon, most of the fighting force left in 9th Infantry Division had retreated to more defensive positions, and they withdrew from their initial positions that they originally had. And 50th Division was another point of attack. So that's in 3rd Corps, 50th Division Nets Brigade, the most southern part of 4th Army. 50th Division made an attack against the town of Virshik. It's like a border town, and they got to the town pretty quickly with the help of some actual German 5th columnists. They were actual ethnic Germans who really helped capture the town, and it wasn't well defended by any Polish army units as well. 15th Infantry Division was the closest to it, and didn't really make an effort for it. Back to 32nd Infantry Division. So 96th Infantry Regiment, actually not that, besides it is the 50th Infantry Regiment. So the 50th Infantry Regiment, they squeezed in the line, the Polish line between Sapolno and Mrzocha, and they're able to capture the town of Wisborg. This further kind of spread the forces north and south, and create a small wedge in between the forces, and this is pretty far south in the line, so that's why it's against 22nd Infantry Regiment. And 3rd Corps, 2nd Corps commander Adolf Strauss, he was actually with the 32nd Regiment when his 4th Infantry Regiment captured the town of Sapolno. And Sapolno is actually like an interesting place. It's strategically somewhat important because it's kind of a road junction. It's a road hub between all these different roads going northeast, southwest, southeast, and directly east. But its single bridge over the river Wisła was blown up, and this gave a minor setback to Adolf Strauss and Kluge. But 96th Infantry Regiment was able to secure an isthmus between two tiny Polish lakes east of Makowarsko. So now I'm gonna talk about the more northern sector of the Pomorze Front on September 1st. So 22nd Infantry Division was moved up by Władysław Bordanowski, actually, so that they would be able to combat any attacks coming from the far north of the corridor, maybe any pinches trying to connect north and west, north and west and east, and also Tursk Operational Group. So Pomorska Cavalry Brigade was also put similarly north up, and also part of this was maybe they could interfere in Danzig, although we later see they'd be completely unable, not in a position to interfere in matters in the Danzig Free State. The only defense there was in Westerplatte, which would surrender on September 7th. So 27th Infantry Division. It was originally there, but around 10 a.m., Bortnovsky gave an order to Drapila, who's the commander of 27th Infantry Division, and asked him to move south, ordered him to move south and help with 9th Infantry Division's defenses in that area, and kind of use his division as a reserve for Pomorze Army, and kind of station him in the area between Bydgoszcz and a bit north to 9th Infantry Division for future plans, because there's no use just standing there idle or attacked, because both of those are no good in that situation. And same thing was applied for Chersk Operational Group, consisting of Pomorze Cavalry Brigade. And further east again, so on the border between East Prussia and Poland, the southwest part of Pomorze of East Prussia, that is bordering the Vistula River. That's where the 4th Army's element 21st Corps is located at. That's commanded by Nikolaus von Falkenhorst. And Nikolaus von Falkenhorst uses his 2 divisions, his 21st Infantry Division and 228th Infantry Division, to attack the Eastern Operational Group of Pomorze Army to reach the western bank of the Vistula River. And this is the main point of crossing. You want to cross the Vistula River so that you find yourself in both sides. They want to get across as many rivers as possible, even rivers that are already crossed, like the Vistula River, that are crossed in other places in the north. And the problem is they're faced by Polish divisions, namely the 16th and the 4th Infantry Divisions, which are normal, sizable units. They both have 3 infantry regiments and artillery with them. And prior to the start of the war, Falkenhorst actually wanted to cross at Chu, using some German personnel dressed as a Polish railway workers. So it was kind of like a sabotage program that never came into fact and never really worked. But it was trying to use saboteurs dressed as Polish railroad workers and actually capture the bridge at Chu and open fire on any Polish soldiers that come in that way, and then use that to capture the bridge over Vistula and get the German forces over. And actually Falkenhorst failed to do this. So yet the Polish army did blow up the bridges at Chu ahead of time, so that was successful. And because he was unable to capture those bridges, he had to capture the bridge over the Osa River, and over the Vistula River, of course, with his 21st and 228th regiments, divisions, and across them at the city of Grudziądz. So that's why all forces are focused on Grudziądz for that reason. And in working with his 2 divisions, working with all that he could, he was expected by von Bock to reach Kluge's army in pretty close time. His only expectation was to cross the Vistula River, and early in the morning is when he attempted to do so, by attacking with both Division 21st and 228th, and they tried to attack the 16th Infantry Division. 16th Infantry Division was a Polish division that was guarding the area over the river Osa, which was directly in front of the river Vistula. So the Germans were unable to initially cross over the Osa, but they attacked to the east of Grudziądz, and 228th's attack didn't really work, but 21st Infantry Division, it kind of had some success. They crossed into an area known as Sono, and at the same time, while 16th Division was attacked, East Operational Group called its other division, 4th Infantry Division, to move over and help the situation and try to also help defend the position over the Osa River, and that will be pretty successful later. So basically, what I've looked at right now, in these 3 different locations, West Pomorze with 9th Infantry Division primarily, but also I've included a little bit of 15th Infantry Division, and then for North, 27th Infantry Division and Kursk Operational Group, which all it did was no action, just move south under Bortnovsky's order, and the third area, which is further east, 16th and 4th Infantry Polish Divisions defending against 21st and 228th German Infantry Divisions under 21st Corps. And all of these made a little progress, but not much in the morning. And more attack would come in the middle of the day, past noon. So again, I'll start by talking in the western side, the central west. 35th Infantry Regiment of 9th Infantry Division rested for a bit before continuing to contact. And this was only possible, of course, because the failure of the 2nd Motorized Division earlier that day. But they're faced by 20th Motorized Division at Hoynitz later, and that's proved to be a problem. And actually, unlike General Bader, who uses great war-style tactics, General Victorin, who's the commander of 20th Infantry Division with motorized in parentheses, he was able to kind of use it much better. He actually used the mobility of his division to his advantage and actually nearly surround the Polish position until Hoynitz was abandoned, and 35th Regiment withdrew from the area in fear of encirclement, and this was actually orders from Verobej, not even from the, regimental commanders, but from Verobej directly. And this allowed the Germans to capture it, of course, but this wasn't a big problem because Hoynitz wasn't the biggest strategical advantage, unlike, for example, Saporno, which fell earlier in the day, in the morning. Also in the afternoon, if you go even further south, with 2nd Corps and 3rd Corps, 3rd Army Corps, Kurt Haas, by the way, advanced kind of towards Bydgoszcz with this area. So 50th Infantry Division and that's brigade both advanced even further, going towards Bydgoszcz, a little to the south, but was stopped by 15th Infantry Division. Within 15th Infantry Division was specifically 64th Infantry Regiment that was the blocker of this attack, and it inhibited its movement of the German infantry. And since it was just infantry and not motor, it was pretty weak. And Netz's brigade was an especially weak unit, and it was unable to use its nothing but infantry to really make a significant impact. It was mostly 50th Division's work. The Polish force was unable to really capitalize, able to use this weak moment to encircle or even destroy Netz's brigade, which they arguably had the opportunity to. But it couldn't, in terms of a grander strategic sense instead of a tactical sense, because the role of 15th Infantry Division in terms of the entire Pomorze Army frontline, and it's got attacks further north, and it's got to relieve some of that attack by Guderian in second corps against 9th Infantry Division. It's very harsh there in 9th Infantry Division. So it didn't really make that counterattack. And yet the 9th Infantry Division was actually given a lucky moment. I call it a golden recess, golden break, because it was just perfect for them. They were coming under so much attack, and although they were more prepared than most divisions at that time, Verbich and his division was kind of on a crunch. He was attacked by 35th Division, who had to retreat from Hoynitz, as I've said. 22nd Infantry Regiment was forced to withdraw from Saporno, and 34th was kind of on the edge, although it was kind of digging in at that time and strengthening the bunkers and defenses. And it was given this amazing opportunity because Schweppenberg decided to call off his advance, and actually the biggest threat coming to 9th Infantry Division as a whole was the 1 Panzer Division that the Germans had in this area. In fact, in all of actually that's not true, not all of Army Group North, because there was also a Panzer Division Kempf. However, in the entire 4th Army, the 1 Panzer Division, 3rd Panzer Division, stopped. It stopped. It was called off, and it was because of Schweppenberg's order. And the reason for this, as we'd find out, is that Schweppenberg went to meet with his bosses, specifically with the Army Group North boss, Feder von Bock, and actually at this point it was 2nd Army Commander von Bock, which may sound weird, but 2nd Army was kind of like the temporary name until September 2nd of what would become Army Group North, encompassing 3rd and 4th German armies, and basically 3rd Panzer Division, because of this pause, was kind of susceptible to attack. So it was sudden, and there at this point there was reconnaissance coming in against a 22nd Regiment, but more importantly, the Panzer Regiment, the 6th Panzer Regiment, was the main focal point of the Panzer Division's attack, and was going straight through and trying to cross through all the rivers and lakes and the defenses, and that was the one that was attacking the 22nd Regiment initially. And since that stopped, 34th Regiment in the rear sent about a battalion over to conduct just basically a raid, an attack, and it knocked out a few panzer divisions, like 3 panzers, not panzer divisions. They didn't knock down 3 panzer divisions. They knocked down 3 tanks, and I believe all 3 of them were Panzer ones. Although I'd have to double check on that because I'm not sure. Schweppenberg paused it, but Guderian was the guy who actually commenced it. And so Guderian's important in this picture because he as the commander of the Army Corps of 19th Motorized or 19th Army Corps, he had the ability to override Schweppenberg's pause and basically take over. And he did pretty well in getting 6th Panzer Regiment to continue onwards, and even the rest of them, 5th Panzer Regiment continued, and not third artillery, but reconnaissance as well. That's what it is. It's third reconnaissance battalion or third reconnaissance Abteilung. And while this was pretty successful and good decision, I think for Guderian, this was not what happened for his 2nd and 20th Motorized Division. So earlier you saw in the day of 20th Motorized Division turned Tech 35th Regiment, not really worked, and then 2nd Motorized Infantry Division attacked the same Polish unit, and it did succeed in getting 35th Regiment out. But later in the day, in the afternoon, it didn't have similar movements, which was a little bit of a problem. But 3rd Panzer Division, meanwhile, made some impressive feats across the River Bertha at the time by the evening or the late afternoon, and the 9th Division was able to focus on enemy 32nd Infantry Division pretty well, but actually Vorobich would only learn of the crossing of the river at 21 o'clock, actually, so pretty late in the day, which proved problematic. But he was able to stop a complete collapse of 9th Infantry Division, which was important. And a further relief for 9th Infantry Division, in addition to the short break in 3rd Panzer Division's movement that gave a short respite for them for not much of a reason, was the 2nd and 20th Motorized Divisions almost halt because of Guderian focusing all of his attention from his 2 motorized divisions to the 3rd Panzer Divisions. And actually one author, I think Roger Morehouse, wrote about this event, basically saying that Guderian was a capable general, but he really was only able to focus on 1 Panzer Division at a time, not the 2 motorized divisions that he was also called to command. So that was a little bit of movement for the entirety of Heinz Guderian's corps, but in for other parts of Bortanovsky's front, there's other movements. So in terms of the Polish perspective, if we're going to look at what Bortanovsky thought, well, at this point he saw his Western Front not collapsing, but it was still holding strong, for sure, but it was it had some cracks already. You could definitely already see some cracks in the front line. And to its far north, where you have the 27th Infantry Division, Drapila, Julius Drapila, while he was moving south due to the orders, and by the way, the philosophy or the idea of this was to bring it in as a reserve division and potentially attack with it and 9th Infantry Division to fight back against Germans and maybe delay them for a little bit, or at least that's the best they can use the 27th Division for. So at this time there's a little bit of talking. So Drapila met with Józef Verobej, 9th Infantry Division commander, later in the day to discuss some solutions with this, in of how to push the Germans back across the border river, which Verobej had realized they crossed. And if should the Germans keep their bridgehead over that river, then they could use the two divisions to deliver one singular powerful counterattacking punch at the town of Koronovo, which is one of the first roads that were taken. So maybe you could punch back at Koronovo and things would work. In Drapila, during this little meeting between the two generals, informed Verobej that he modified the order of march for his division a little bit. He was still going in the same destination, which was the northern area of Bydgoszcz, but he also said that he's going to use railway tracks and not super important things, but these are what he told Verobej. And the reality of situation for his division, 27th Infantry Division, was his men were tired all day. Imagine, like if you were to imagine being a soldier in 27th Polish Infantry Division at that time, you marched all day, the war just begun, and you didn't have a single fire shot at or have shot a single bullet at an enemy. By this point, it was already coming to the end of day one, and they had done close to nothing but walk and eat in walk more hours. So they were physically exhausted, yet they were actually morally pretty strong. They had high morale at that point, despite that exhausting march until the evening. So actually they're a little almost bored because they entered the Polish army. They have to fight the Germans, and they want to fight the Germans, a lot of them, and if you hear about some of the stories from personnel of the 27th Polish Infantry Division, you hear that during that first day they were just awaiting for a German attack, and when are they going to stop marching and attack, because some of them were under the impression that they were just retreating on day one without offering, and attack, which wasn't exactly the point of the movement. So of 9th Division, 22nd Regiment had some fighting, but 35th Infantry Regiment, because of the halt in 2nd and 20th divisions that were facing it, 35th Infantry Regiment was able to kind of have a little short pause in fighting, and they were able to rest a few hours. And it proved that was a little bit successful. They were able to they're able to hold it for a little bit. But of course, after they withdrew from Hoynitz, and withdrew to the rest of 9th Infantry Division. The Poles actually made a completely different approach to this problem in the northern side of 9th Infantry Division's area, and that was to commit to a counterattack by 16th Uhlans Lancer Cavalry Regiment. It's of the Pomorze Cavalry Brigade, and actually this was kind of famous. So a few miles northeast, at the town of Kroyanti, famous site that happened, you have a little detachment of the Tursk Operational Group, specifically of, I think it's the 16th Pomeranian Uhlans Regiment that attacked in this area, and it's a cool site if you look at it from just a film perspective, or just looking at a perspective. But if you look in terms of propaganda purposes, it's great for the German propaganda machine, because what it is cavalry attacking German infantry. And although it was a successful cavalry charge, and it became a famous one, almost like a symbol of Polish defense, it was popularized by mostly not Polish but German media during the war. And Goebbels was guilty of this, as he used that to depict Polish cavalry usage, and how all the Polish mobility came from horses, and they were riding on horses, while the Germans were riding on tanks, which is not true at all. And in fact, Kroyanti is an example of this, because the Germans were on foot, and they were completely surprised by the cavalry charge. But that's important. So further in the evening of September 1st, though, the forward elements of 3rd Panzer Division, so I'm talking about 6th Panzer Regiment and a little bit of others, but mostly 6th Panzer Division, they continue to clash with 34th Infantry Regiment until midnight, and they'd also attack a little bit of 26th Regiment, although 26th Infantry Regiment came a lot under attack by 32nd Infantry Division of the German Army. And actually the rest of the German Panzer Division, 3rd Panzer Division, kind of just strolled along with the rest of Guderian's Corps, and kind of behind the 6th Panzer Regiment. They had the infantry of it, they had the 5th Panzer Regiment, they had all of the extra health units, HQ units, engineer units of these just falling behind until the rest of the day. And during the same time, 26th Regiment in the south was attacked by 96th Regiment 4th Regiment, I think a little more 96th and 4th, but I believe both 96th and 4th Infantry Regiments of the 32nd Infantry Regiment by Colonel and by General Bowman attacked a little bit in attack behind a little river, River Krovka, in the south of 22nd Polish Infantry Regiment's position. And he ordered Boma ordered 4th and 96th Infantry Regiments to kind of try to move forward, basically reinforce the line along with 3rd Infantry Division, I think, was also there, near there, a bit further southeast, but also primarily with 3rd Panzer Division. So 3rd Panzer Division to left and 3rd Infantry Division to right, and it was to move forward. And 96th, not 94th, 96th Infantry Regiment did not really reach its target by nightfall, but and also the 32nd Regiment failed as well, and they were forced to kind of just rest without capturing a huge bridgehead over or any bridgehead over the Berta River, which was an important key point. So basically, they stopped after sunset, and September 1st ended with 32nd Infantry Division not accomplishing their primary goal, and same thing for 3rd Infantry Division as well. The entirety of that corps was able to do all that. Kurt Hess, and in actually same thing went for majority of the front line. So if you look all in all, at the western areas, in all of the western side, you see that there's some advances, but no breakthroughs. That's the theme of September 1st in the western side of, or in general of Army Group North, I think, and it was no exception for the 21st Army Corps. So General Nikolaus von Falkenhorst actually ordered at this time for further movement, and actually they were benefited by a Panzer regiment. Interestingly enough, Falkenhorst had access to 1 Panzer regiment, 10th Panzer Regiment, and it was coming from behind 228th Infantry Division, and it will come to help them out. It was independent, it was not a part of a Panzer Division or even Panzer Brigade. It was an independent Panzer Regiment that was attached to Falkenhorst 21st Corps. And so 10th Panzer Division helped and supported 228th movement and advanced further against the Polish positions. Although they came under artillery barrage by Polish 16th Artillery Regiment. It's the one that carried out the barrage, and yet they were able to make some ground despite the losses of a few tanks. I think maybe like 10% of its force, something like that. And in response of that artillery barrage killing a few tanks, Falkenhorst ordered an artillery barrage on the entire Polish positions, and actually mainly just do so that they could clear the area, scatter the Polish troops, and then bum attack with infantry, as a lot of German tactics went at during this invasion and other invasions. And that's what they did. They attacked with artillery and then attacked with 24th Infantry Regiment, which crossed the River Osa at this point, and they took a bridgehead at the town of Bilavki, I believe it's pronounced Bilavki, over the River Osa, and they maintained that bridgehead regardless, by getting reinforced by more regiments, and this was all happening while it was under a massive attack by Polish 64th Infantry Regiment, which was a pretty strong attack. And at this time, the 14th Infantry Regiment of 4th Infantry Division was moved westward by whoever that divisional commander was, to mount a little counterattack against 21st Infantry Division. And actually the by the end of the evening, the Poles were unable to push them back, and that's pretty much the end. The attack only halted in the evening, I believe at 18 or 19 o'clock, and that was the end of the front, and the end of both or all of the fronts in Pomorze Army on day one, until the night came. And that's what I'm going to talk about next. All right, interesting thing happened during the night of September 1st. Now it's nighttime, it's dark. All of the first attacks ended, but since the German army did make some significant gains, and Kugler was happy about Falkenhorst gains, I believe, and Kluge wanted some more ambitious plans. But anyway, they made a little bit of progress, especially with 3rd Panzer Division and other areas of the front line. Pomorze Army, by the end of the day, withdrew from Saporno and withdrew from Hoynitz, and they were able to keep Chu, but they also lost Bridgehead over the River Osa, which is important against the Battle of Grudziądz. And yet the Polish Pomorze Front, the Pomorze Army, was able to prevent a complete destruction of their army and their defenses and the war. And so it was going on, and by the end of day one, I think the Pomorze Army was actually standing quite strong. They were standing strong, just breached in little places, but their main defense of bunkers was still in position and not breached, despite Schweppenberg and Guderian's attempts. So during the night, is when 27th Infantry Division reached its destination, along with Pomorze Cavalry Brigade, and they were able to move south, basically to northern suburb, or I'd say basically in the city of Bydgoszcz, to help out with Verobej's plan and his counterattack. So now Dracula and Verobej were preparing for what they had agreed on in the evening, a counterattack westwards against the Germans at Kronovo. So during like the late actually I think it was past midnight, so technically on September 2nd was when they counterattacked. So, yeah, all in all, 4th Army on the first day suffered significant casualties, but made some gains on the ground, although not in the air because there was no Luftwaffe activity on September 1st in Pomerania, but they were able to attack many of the Polish divisions and set casualties to many of them. And in a lot of key successes, I think 2nd Motorized Division was one of the key successes, as it captured it captured the defenses because the commander Victorin was able to conduct a good tactical make good tactical decisions to kind of threaten encirclement of 35th Infantry Regiment, and they also made some good progress against 22nd Infantry Regiment. And of course you can't forget about the 3rd Panzer Division's advances on to say too, or even those of the 22nd Infantry Division. So a lot of good stuff for the Germans at this time. And I think after talking about all the things in September 1st, I think, yeah, I think later in the series I can talk about just what I think about an overview of the events in certain day, like September 1st, after talk about Silesia and the areas across from Slovakia, as well as I can talk about the diplomatic stuff later. Sorry. So I suppose I'll move on to September 2nd. And in order to do that, I would have to begin by talking about the events that happened overnight, which includes a little bit before midnight. So I guess the first thing I'll talk about is Verobej and Drapala, or actually I'll wait for that, and first I'll talk about the stuff in the east. 4th Division and 16th Division's defense against 21st and 228th and even 10th Infantry Panzer Regiment of the German 21st Corps. So sneak attack by Polish 4th Infantry Division was able to kind of succeed, and they launched a counterattack late in the night, and they were able to get surprise. The element of surprise was in the Polish favor because Germans were not expecting such counterattack at all. They were expecting just Polish withdrawal, fight, and then withdrawal was the plan. But they're surprised because this Polish division fought back. And yet the 228th Division, despite being obviously not best quality division, it's weaker than 21st Infantry Division for sure. It still managed to repel this assault. After 3 hours, I believe, the attack only took 3 hours, and 16th Infantry Division kind of just relaxed, and they're put on side, but they weren't going to go along with this counterattack, and so basically it was almost meaningless. It didn't accomplish what they had intended to do in purpose. But perhaps a more interesting thing is what happened to the counterattack in the west of the front. So as Dracula and Verobej, those two generals had talked about, their counterattack was going to come late into the night, which meant basically dusk, or not dusk, basically like when it's still dark. I believe it's like 4 a.m. or something when that happened. I'm actually not sure about the exact time, but it happened definitely sometime between like 2 a.m. and then 6 a.m. When Verobej ordered 35th and 34th regiments to withdraw behind the Berda River, the River Berda, Dracula was given now an attack to use that space to counterattack with his forces. And actually, one little problem was that for them, was that Guderian was not exactly doing nothing during his sleep at this time. He was still ready. He sent out a reconnaissance detachment in 3rd Panzer Division. Again, Guderian's order, not Schweppenberg, or Kluge's decision. And he wanted to move to Svikatovo overnight. So actually, understanding this, Bortanovsky, who I think he actually didn't get any sleep during this night. Bortanovsky didn't get any sleep during this night, although that's one of the things that I might have to compare sources to realize whether that's actually right. But basically he ordered Dracula to change course, and understanding the movement of the 3rd Panzer Division's reconnaissance, Bortanovsky redirected 27th Infantry Division to this area, maybe so that the whole division force might be able to overcome and overpower the reconnaissance detachment, small group, and you can just be able to wipe it out. And a little problem was that this wasn't a clear-cut decision. It was a little changey. Bortanovsky gave one order, and then the next man made another order and said the original order again, and then changed it. And of course Dracula kept having to order some subordinates different things, and as you can expect, that creates some confusion or disarray in the plans, but Dracula was able to control it, and he was able to cooperate with Verobej and get his action going. So he met with Verobej in 9th Division headquarters to talk about it, and during by the dawn of September 1st, since 27th Infantry Division was pretty much in absolute horrible shape for a counterattack, for marching miles and miles. This is what happened. 50th Infantry Division, 50th Infantry Regiment was able to catch the Germans by surprise at Svikatovo, where the German reconnaissance were, and they inflicted damage on these reconnaissance units. And in not too much later, the 23rd and 24th Infantry Regiments, the other two regiments of Draculas, they were able to deliver a blow, not a powerful attack, but they were able to attack some Panzer units at the town of it's escaping me of it's a town of Tushini. Town of Tushini is where they were, and just as Polish units might have seemed to be able to stop the Germans, the 6th Regiment suddenly moved forward, and basically they were able to kind of overturn all of the progress made by Dracula and Verovich overnight, and kind of take over the scene. So this is what happened. 6th Panzer Division kind of here to save the encirclement, move forward, and since 22nd Infantry Division pretty much attacked with just infantry, it was supposed to be a raid more than a committed new front line. That's why they didn't bring the artillery to the front. So being a little uncoordinated, or majorly uncoordinated, they were susceptible to a brilliant, powerful attack by a panzer force, and that's why 6th Panzer Division was able to severely damage 27th Infantry Division, and was able to hurt a lot of 9th Infantry Division as well. And during this time, also a Pomeranian Cavalry Brigade suddenly went up to counterattack in this area as well. They had also moved south along with 27th, and they just joined the scene after seeing the 6th Panzer Division join. But this was not enough to help with the horrible situation up there. In fact, might have been a crucial mistake, because they were basically just pummeled by 6th Panzer Regiment as they came forward, as was 27th Infantry Division. So they were during this early morning attack, a counterattack, which failed. 6th Panzer Regiment was basically like they most certainly overpowered all of the Polish forces, 9th Division, 27th Division, and Pomeranian Cavalry Brigade. That's 3 big forces with I mean, I call that to include around like 6. I call that to include 6 regiments. And those 6 regiments were completely useless if they weren't able to withdraw. So it was a crucial moment, and once you obliterate these forces, there's almost nothing stopping them, the Germans, from just wiping out the rest of Pomorze Army, which was pretty much just 15th Infantry Division. But this was a time where the Germans were actually unable to capitalize on this great moment, great opportunity, and it's because their tanks were out of fuel. This happens a lot of time in modern warfare. But the tanks had a strategically important opportunity, but they ran out of fuel, so they were unable to pursue the withdrawing Polish infantry and cavalry and let them free. Although they were able to inflict severe casualties, so semi success, but they were not able to get a complete absolute victory at that moment. But that was okay for Germans because they were able to continue on. This is a problem for Poland, however, because the Polish army does not have a lot of troops and they just need to last as long as possible. And further in the north, not just in the south in Koronovo, where 22nd Infantry Regiment was attacked, you also had trouble with 35th Infantry Regiment as well, and the north side of 9th Infantry Division's position. So Verovich ordered a counterattack by 37th Regiment to attack the left flank of 3rd Panzer Division at Kornovo, but 3rd Panzer Division was able to push them back. And this was the not even 6th Panzer Regiment, but a smaller or not spearhead elements of the division. So that was pretty bad failure for the entirety of 9th Infantry Division. You were unable to defend against the Germans in the beginning of the day or in the previous day, and then your grand counterattack in another entire infantry division and another entire cavalry brigade completely dismantled, and your left flank's in trouble as well, and the right flank's in trouble as well. So after pushing them back, the reserve 23rd Infantry Division was under direct command of 4th of Kluge's 4th Army, which means that it's not a part of any army corps. It's just an independent division that's directly under it. Kluge moved 23rd Infantry Division to near Guderian's area. It was not officially part of Guderian's corps, but it would be kind of within that realm, just backing up in case some failure, or you need to use that division to use an additional to deliver an additional punch. And while this was happening, 23rd Infantry Division moved further east and helped consolidate that bridgehead that was established over the River Berda on September 1st, the previous night. And with the withdrawal of the Hoynitz detachment further north in the previous day, Guderian ordered the 2nd and 20th motorized divisions to now pursue that Polish infantry force, namely the 35th Infantry Regiment, namely the 35th Infantry Regiment. I'm just going to put that down in my notes, because one thing I missed. So 22nd Infantry Regiment South was also in a little bit of a buzz. They were in a little bit of trouble due to the actions of Second Army Corps advances. So namely, famous Boma, of course, his 32nd Infantry Division. He renewed his attack and made another attack. In again, same thing with the Fourth Infantry Regiment, but even more with 96th Infantry Regiment, attacking 22nd 22nd Polish Infantry Regiment, its main line. And what that does is that it adds more strain, more pressure. Imagine 22nd Polish Infantry Regiment as a rubber band. Then you're adding pressure on its right flank. You're adding pressure on its left flank. So what's going to happen? The rubber band might snap, and what happens if the band snaps? Everything in the middle, it's wide open. And okay, that might not be the best comparison to make here. I just thought of it out of the blue, but that's kind of what happened. You have attacks from all these Panzer General's great forces, and then you have 32nd Infantry Regiment, Infantry Division, Boma attacking in the exact same area, and trying to make a breakthrough. And in fact, they did make a breakthrough at this area sometime in the morning, and they were able to breach and reach the line in the morning, and they kind of split 22nd Regiment into north and to a little bit of it in the south of it. And since it was isolated from the rest of the entirety of the regiment was actually becoming isolated from the main part of 9th Infantry Division. So it another thing was it failed to fight against well, what's the other thing in Second Corps? Third Infantry Division, fighting against 3rd Infantry Division, and in fact, they were kind of forced to withdraw south, not north, to the rest of 9th Infantry Division, but they were withdrawing south towards the city of Bydgoszcz, along with 15th Infantry Division. And this how the day of it went. And if I may all right, I'm going to think about the all right, so okay, during the day, so out of the morning, the failed counterattacks by Verobij and Drapla, and then further attacks against 35th and 2nd, 22nd Infantry Regiments. After all of that, and as I talked about how 22nd Infantry Regiment kind of became isolated, it became so isolated and independent that Verobij decided to move command of his southernmost regiment, 22nd Regiment, and move it over to 15th Infantry Division's command, because that's where it was geographically closer at that point. because it became pretty much isolated from 9th Infantry Division's core area. And once this happened, they continued to withdraw south to Big Gosh and support 15th Infantry Division, which really until now didn't have any significant fighting besides those with Ned's Brigade and 50th Infantry Division, which is still significant. And for that unit, 15th Division, and more specifically the newly attached 22nd Infantry Regiment, an attack from 3rd Panzer Division, the 5th Panzer Regiment of it, attacked all of a sudden on the afternoon or the evening of September 2nd, and try to really cut them off, really cut off their line of retreat, and to try to isolate 22nd Regiment from 15th Infantry Division. And they kind of overran some elements of it, and kind of wiped past that isolated regiment, very weak at this point. And after further securing its bridgehead over the River Berta, it was kind of just able to move through and drive further east into Polish territory. And the armored division of, actually just armored regiment, because 6th Panzer Regiment wasn't part of this, but 5th Panzer Regiment meant while trying to continue further east, they ran out of fuel, which is again repeated process. This happened with 6th Panzer Regiment, its twin kind of older brother, and this happened exactly the same thing with 5th Panzer Regiment, although they lasted longer because they didn't have as much movement at the beginning of, during the first day. But they ran out of fuel, and they were unable to move, and they had to halt for a few hours, although supply columns with oil were able to get through on the front line through Polish resistance. There was Polish resistance trying to sabotage the German oilers, the German supply columns, but the supply units were able to gun them down, unfortunately, and they were able to supply 5th Panzer Regiment to conduct their goals. So 32nd Infantry Regiment was doing that with 96th and 4th Infantry Regiment. Another movement by Adolf Strauss's corps was by the 3rd Infantry Division, that was also a part of his corps. So around midday, actually, while 96th Regiment and 4th Regiment were moving through, specifically 96th Regiment was the main one. It was both Adolf Strauss and von Bock were both decided to watch this advance, as they talked about some things. But not Boma. Boma was not a part of that. Schweppenberg was talked to by von Bock, as von Bock had talked to, I'm sorry, not Schweppenberg. Schweppenberg had been talked to, yes, previous day, but General Fedor von Bock began talking to Adolf Strauss in order to tell him about what position should he do with his two great infantry divisions, and how should he use them to facilitate a breakthrough to reach actually halfway across the corridor in the south. That would be pretty good, and if he would be able to maintain pressure against Bydgoszcz, that'd be good. And that was the idea. So while western part of it was going pretty poorly for the Polish army, in all aspects, Drapela, Varovic, everything, and it was not much better in the East operational group, where 4th Infantry Division and 16th Infantry Division were defending against the two German attacking divisions, and the Panzer Regiment, of course, the Panzer Regiment. And since they had lost a bridgehead over the most important river ahead of the Vistula, the Osa River, that Polish force in Grudziądz or around Grudziądz, the two infantry divisions, tried to stop a 21st Infantry Division advance during the day of September 2nd. 21st Infantry Division used first its engineers to construct a bridge across the River Osa, and then they used 228th Infantry Division, which was basically in the exact same place, just a little further away, to move ahead and be the ones to cross the river again, and that was supposed to work. And 21st Infantry Regiment did continue the attack on Grudziądz afterwards. Although, of course, first they would have to start with artillery barrage, heavy artillery barrage, not using their light artillery, but using their heavy artillery, of course, and then using infantry along with 228th to advance further. That was Both's idea, not Bach. Both, I mean clearly, Both's, and who's the commander of 21st Infantry Division, by the way. So Both, B-O-T-H, and I only emphasize this because when I was reading through this, I misread. I was thinking Bach. It was not Bach. It's Both, and making movements further against the attack, and that spearhead movement, the 10th Panzer Regiment. Actually, that's not the spearhead. Both the 228th and the 21st are the spearheads, but they're kind of supported by 10th Panzer Regiment. So all of these forces are coming together, and all of 21st Army, 21st Corps, basically attacks these two little divisions and tries to make a significant breakthrough. And it pretty much succeeds, because, well, one, saboteurs managed to make some havoc, and those who break the front line cut off 16th Infantry Division's internal wire systems, communications. It's all broken, so they can communicate with it, and those, and also the HQ of the division also were blocked from communicating with outside forces, including General Bortanovsky, which was crucial. It just cut off communications by more or less surrounding the outside of 16th Infantry Division, and panic arose, chaos. It was terrible for them, for the situation militarily, and the 4th Division, I think, actually sent out a battalion or two to help with it, but that didn't really work. And doing the best it could alone at this point, since 16th Division was destroyed, their communication was destroyed. 4th Division made a solo attack with the 1 division against the body of the Germans. So he attacked with the 14th Infantry Regiment in the night, and they were able to successfully actually push them back a few miles, but the Germans actually were able to move forward later, because despite this little victory by 14th Infantry Regiment, the 66th and 64th Infantry Regiments, so there are the two ones on the left side, the northwest side of the 16th Infantry Division, were forced back to the Gruziac Yablunovo railroad. So that's just the one kind of connecting Gruziac with Yablunovo, and 16th Infantry Division was in a horrible situation, and Bortanovsky determined that the best way to save this situation was step 1, to replace the commander of 16th Infantry Division. And actually I forgot who it was, the previous commander, but he was replaced by a colonel who was presumed to be better at keeping down the unit and calming them down. So the former infantry division commander was relieved of his command, and there was a new colonel in charge of 16th Infantry Division. And 4th Infantry Division was, of course, doing fine, but losing ground against the Germans, even though they made this little good success with 14th Infantry Regiment. And basically by the night, the 16th Division to withdraw away. 4th was fighting pretty well, but at this point they realized that the combined strength of, you got an entire panzer regiment where the Poles don't have any panzers at all, and the best they have are some little light tank designs, which you don't have a lot in 4th Infantry Division. You have also 2 infantry divisions that are in full attack against you. So how are you going to stop a panzer regiment and 2 infantry divisions with just an infantry division. It's hard, and you don't have a natural barrier like a river anymore, since the Germans had crossed the Osa River completely at this point, completely breached. So the front was pretty much at collapse. The eastern side of this front was more or less just collapsed for the unit commanders and for Bortanovsky, and a great success for General Falkenhorst. He was so close to completing his primary goal of capturing Gruziac. As the Germans seem to be winning the war, a little side note I'd include is the things in Bydgoszcz, because ethnic German civilians in Bydgoszcz conducted little self-defense sabotages in the city, which included engaging in actual combat with rifles against Polish units, like defending the area. They cut off communication lines, like they were just cutting telephone lines, just being annoying little rats to the Polish 15th, or just to anyone who wants Poland to win or to last long enough. And these fifth columnists engaged in some street fighting as well, and actually this would later turn into a much bigger event with the war crimes happening on both sides. But that's the result of the second day, pretty much. So as the night of the second day passed by, we'd see that the Polish defenses were pretty much destroyed. The Pomorze Army, which, if you remember, was only there as kind of a self-sacrifice, so it was never meant to survive for much, for very long. You sacrificed, you sacrificed, what, like 100,000 or so troops, for this diplomatic purpose. I mean, there is logic to that, but by the end of the second day, and September 3rd, came just about rolling around. The clock hits 12 at this time, and you look at the situation on the map and on the battlefield, is that the Polish army is wrecked. The Polish army is wrecked. 27th Infantry Division is badly mauled, and same thing goes for 9th Infantry Division, which was heavily attacked in all directions and pretty well crushed. 15th Division was actually still strong. It's important. National Defense Brigades were not particularly of use, really. Didn't do much yet. And in the east, you saw a complete collapse of the front line at the hands of the 21st Army Corps. So it was all coming together, and they were about to be completely encircled at this time. And even the situation at Danzig at this point was not much better, as there were further engagements at sea. There were further engagements on land at Westerplatte, although not much. And I think that's where another armored train attack happened. I think it was actually a burning armored train, a Panzerzug, that that was near Westerplatte and tried to attack them, which didn't really work. And of course, they didn't have any real Luftwaffe activities on this day as well. And if you looked at Hel Peninsula, situation remained more or less the same on that skinny long peninsula. So that's pretty much the results of second day of the war. And if you look at that counterattack that happened early in the day, that was almost wasteful, as it was not a strong counterattack at the end. You basically, and you being Bortanovsky in this situation, lost your entire reserve force and your last hope at creating a last long defense, even if the 6th Panzer Division was 6th Panzer Regiment was unable to fully utilize its situational advantage and completely destroy the enemy. But yet, at this point, they were pretty much just scattered forces that could do nothing but attempt to withdraw to either Bydgoszcz or some other place, getting behind the Vistula River. Withdrawal was the only point, the only real course of action that made any sense to either Bortanovsky or to any of the divisional or lower commanders. It wouldn't make any sense to continue fighting this area and not withdrawing to a safer line. And during this first 48 hours, not 48 hours actually, because the attack began around 4:45, so not 48 but more like 43 and 15 minutes. A lot of changes had occurred. While the Polish army was a sizable, strong force in the beginning and had cracked a tiny bit after the first day, they were practically in full retreat. When it came to the end of September 2nd, they still wanted to hold on to a front line, but they were more or less collapsed already. And this was at the hands of many leaders, including Heinz Guderian, probably number one. Falkenhorst is important too. So had Adolf Strauss, Second Army commander, also important. They all made good efforts on the German side to knock out a lot of the enemy's capability of fighting. So other closing notes for September 2nd that I may have failed to mention. So while they're still holding on, a few notes. All right. So one is that during this night, that's when 10th Panzer Division was ordered by Feder von Bock during the night, or during the day actually, and they were ordered all through the night, trying to move up to kind of like the northern side, and the reason why von Bock would order this directly was that he would expect a junction of the two northern armies, the 3rd and 4th armies, by closing the Polish corridor. It was what von Bock really wanted, and that's why he would allocate the reserve 10th Panzer Division forward to that area. And another ending note to mention is about the creation of Army Group North, because while before it was called the Second Army officially, on September 2nd became officially changed to Army Group North, and Army Group North headquarters were created at Bad Polsen, a little town in Pomerania, German Pomerania, and it would consist of more or less the same staff. And von Bock was also named the leader. So it was basically a continuation of the Second Army, whose legacy was close to doing nothing. It was just one army, in my opinion, my honest opinion, an excuse for an army name. It was an army group. It was two armies, third and fourth. It's wrong to name it Second Army. It's just not right. And I think that Army Group North was a more appropriate name. And to be honest, I'm not sure why they didn't call it Army Group North before, maybe. And although there was a good chance that it could have been just because that Hitler and Brauchitsch and von Bock never really talked about this issue before, but either way, it came into effect on September 2nd, and the Third Army and the Fourth Army be joined under Army Group North command, as with 8th, 10th, and 14th Armies in Army Group South. So I think I'll continue talking about the Pomorze Army another day. But yeah, I think we're pretty productive today. We talked about September 1st, September 2nd, and later we can talk about the rest of the days important to the collapse of the resistance in Pomerania at this time, and why Polish resistance, military resistance in this area failed, and how the Germans were able to break through in so many areas and bring total destruction to most of its army.